Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry the Movies with your host Jerry Saravia. Today I'm going to talk about a anti-Muslim film that has been causing a wave of protests, not to mention possibly inciting some killings recently. And just to backtrack a little bit, we're talking about a film here called The Innocence-of-Muslims. And this is a film by a director who's used a number of aliases throughout the years, one of them being Sam-Bacile, I believe. And he is claimed to be a real estate developer from Israel. Now, the Israeli authorities apparently found no sign of this guy being an Israeli citizen. There was no indication of any Sam-Bacile around the age of 50 or older living in California, having a real estate license, or participating in Hollywood filmmaking. However, this guy claimed that the film had been made for $5 million from more than 100 Jewish donors. And but apparently this guy his actual name is Nakoula-Basseley-Nakoula, a Coptic-Christian immigrant from Egypt living in Cerritos, California, which is near LA. And a little backtrack on this guy: he served prison time in a 1990s conviction for manufacturing methamphetamine, pleaded no contest to bank fraud, and was sentenced to 21 months in prison. Anyway, this guy, he, if I understand correctly, the American nonprofit Media for Christ obtained film permits to shoot this movie in August 2011. And Nakoula provided his home as a set and paid the actors, according to government officials and those involved in the production. The Media for Christ president Joseph Nasrallah Abdelmasahi reportedly went into hiding after a violent response to this film. Now, this film seems to have been made as a way of inciting hatred and violence in the Middle East, specifically with those who practice the teachings of Islam, or are Islamic or Muslim, or both. Now, this caused a bunch of some violent protests because YouTube showed the trailer to this film. And this was originally called Desert Warrior, or possibly Desert Storm at one time, which is what he had told the actors. The actors involved in this film had no idea what type of film he was actually setting out to make. The character Muhammad was referred to as Master George on the set, and apparently through looping, which is basically when actors come in and dub their lines that couldn't be recorded when they were shooting, he told them to say Muhammad, and they didn't know what was really going on here. An actress involved with the film, Cindy-Lee-Garcia, is suing, and because she's in this film that's causing a bunch of protests. Now, the film was shown at one screening in LA, and I should say it just had one screening, and that was it. But what really caused the brunt of all the protests was this YouTube trailer. So these people that were involved, the crew, were taken advantage by this producer, again, who claimed to be an Israeli real estate mogul and used a different name. Now, according to Sarah Abdurrahman, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce these names, a producer for WNYC's On the Media program, she watched the trailer and concluded that all the religious references were overdubbed after filming, which of course is what I just said. But anyway, the original cut did not include references to Muhammad or Islam, which is very interesting. Now, this guy claimed is a Coptic Christian from Egypt. So far, that seems to have been what's been released about this guy. Now, it shows the video shows present-day Egyptian Muslims burning the homes of Egyptian Christians while Egyptian Muslim security forces stand idle. And the rest of the trailer purports to portray scenes from the Prophet Muhammad's life. And one scene implies that his wife ordered that the Quran be written by mixing parts of the Torah and the New Testament into false verses. And another scene, the character Muhammad calls a donkey, the first Muslim animal. Time magazine described the dialogue as homoerotic. Anyway, I think everyone seems to agree that this film, and of course right now we're really talking about a trailer for the most part, was done to incite violence with that purpose. Now this is nothing new. This has happened before. There have been other filmmakers who have done short films about what's actually going on in the Middle East, how women are treated, and this sort of thing, Muslim women, some graphic stuff. But this film seems to have had a different purpose altogether. It seems to have been designed to create fervor, to incite hatred. Now, the only thing about this that bothers me is that it's still a film, you know, and can a film really do that? Well, the Muslims take Muhammad very seriously. There's no question. In fact, most of you know the late Mustafa Akkad, the film producer, who is best known for the Halloween franchise. And he helped to produce pro-Muslim films back in the day, with the help of the late dictator Gaddafi, who produced them. And one of them being Mohammed, Messenger of God. I think Gaddafi really just produced Lion of the Desert in 1981. And the thing is that when you do a film, or you talk about Muhammad, it's implicitly, in actuality, you do not show Muhammad. That's what they want. Now, the other aspect to this, I think that's also interesting, is that this may have caused a problem on September 11th of 2012 with the U.S. ambassador to Libya and 3 other Americans who were killed in an attack in Benghazi. Now, it's not necessarily clear that it was caused by this short film that existed. When you consider the date that this happened, it's odd. It could be just a coincidence, but this was a suicide bombing and it killed 12 people. Now, supposedly this was carried out in retaliation for the film, which was made with private funds, once again in California. So, again, can a film really cause such a problem? Now, there's a French magazine, this report just came out today, that ridicules the Prophet Muhammad and portrays him naked in cartoons, threatening to fuel the anger of Muslims around the world. The French government urged the magazine not to print images, and protests broke out after this magazine printed these images, which are caricatures of the Prophet. Now, the thing is that we have a war out in the Middle East, and this just adds more fuel to the fire. The question is, can you really still make a film that deals with Muhammad in any light? Now, the answer is yes. I mean, you can, but you're going to suffer the consequences, clearly. If this was done with the intention of creating violence, and thus violence was created as part of this film, then that's it. It's you have to ask yourself, what is really the responsibility of the filmmaker, and the moral responsibility. And one of those phrases that I've heard a lot throughout the years, particularly from very elitist film critics: morally problematic, dangerous film, but a film is still a film, doesn't it? So the fact that it causes such a furor means that it doesn't matter if it's a film or a cartoon or whatever, because we've seen all different forms of media that ridicule the Prophet Muhammad. The question is, when you do that and you know it's going to create a problem, should you still do it? It's a little different than Stanley Kubrick, who made the controversial Clockwork Orange back in 1971. He made that film to provoke people, but not necessarily to create copycat crimes. See, that's the difference. Now, again, I don't know if that's really been fully released, the idea that this guy did it with that intention. I don't know if he's discussed this just yet. If he did do it with that intention, that's one thing. But this is all being judged by a trailer. I guess some people, Salman Rushdie, for example, saw, I think, the film and said it was just disgusting. So, I don't know. I guess this will be an ongoing story, and I'm certainly going to revisit it. So, I'm just saying, I'm asking all of you, where's the responsibility? For me, if you do it with the intention to provoke, that's one thing. To make people intellectualize a certain subject, particularly religion, which is always a tough subject. It's a hot button issue. Religion and politics, especially in America. But we'll see what comes out of it. But I'll certainly discuss this more, and would ask any of you, what do you think is really the responsibility of a filmmaker when you're dealing with subject matter that could create a problem, and knowingly doing so. For this kind of problem, mind you, this is a hot button issue, very tough issue. So anyway, this is Jerry the Movies with your host Jerry Saravia, signing off.